the human who spent 35 years in temporal prison and refused to break Part 1. The collector's mistake: the collector had acquired 47,283 sentient beings across 8 million years of existence. Every single one had broken. The Vilrathi warrior, species known for mental fortitude that could withstand a supernova's death scream, had lasted 3 years before her consciousness fragmented. The Korvax hive mind collective, 10,000 individuals sharing one consciousness, had held for 7 years before the isolation drove them to madness. The eternal monks of Zenter Prime, who could meditate for centuries, managed 12 years before their enlightenment turned to screaming. Temporal stasis was simple in concept. The subject remained conscious but existed outside normal time. Seconds felt like seconds, but years passed in the external universe. No physical pain. No aging, no death, just awareness. Infinite, unending, solitary awareness. The collector studied Marcus Chen's psychological profile one final time as the human walked toward the acquisition chamber. The collector had never been wrong about a breaking point estimate by more than 30%. Marcus Chen would be screaming for release within a year. Year 1 Marcus opened his eyes in the white space. Not white like a color, white like the absence of everything. No walls, no floor, no ceiling, just infinite nothing stretching in all directions. He was standing, though there was nothing to stand on. He could see his own body, but cast no shadow because there was no light source. There was no light at all, really, just visibility. "Okay," Marcus said aloud. His voice didn't echo because there was nothing to echo off. "Okay, I knew this was coming. I volunteered for this." "You did," the collector's voice resonated through the nothingness. Many forget that detail quickly. "How long do I have until I can see Zephyra?" 1 year external time. For you, it will feel like 1 year, Marcus nodded slowly. "And there's nothing here, nothing to do, nothing to interact with, just this. Correct, you exist, you are aware." "That is all. Great." Marcus sat down on the nothing. "Then I guess I'd better get started." "Started on what?" "Not breaking." Marcus smiled. "You've never studied humans properly, have you? I can tell from how you structured this deal. You think consciousness plus isolation equals madness. It does, for every species ever tested." "Yeah, well..." Marcus lay back on the nothing, folding his hands behind his head like he was lounging in a park. "Humans are really, really good at one thing. We're good at being stubborn assholes." Then Marcus Chen closed his eyes and began to build a world inside his head. The collector observed with curiosity. Most species immediately panicked when thrust into the white space. They screamed, ran in circles, begged for release. This human just lay down and went quiet. Scans showed his brain activity was normal. Elevated, actually, specifically in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, memory and planning centers. "What are you doing?" the collector asked after 3 days. Marcus's eyes remained closed. "Building my house, the one Zephyra and I lived in." Every detail: the observation deck overlooking New Thesha, the kitchen where I made breakfast, the bedroom with the stupid squeaky floorboard, every single detail. Imaginary constructs will not save you from isolation. "Maybe not, but they'll keep me busy." Marcus's lips curved into a smile. "Do you know how many individual crystals were visible from our observation deck? I'm counting them. I'm up to 4,847. 3 months passed. Marcus built the entire apartment in his mind with perfect clarity. Then he built the streets around it, the cafe where they'd had their first date, the university where Zephyra lectured, the gray quarter where he'd met the collector. He walked through his memory palace, room by room, street by street, reliving every moment he'd lived in that city. When he finished, he started over. This time, he rebuilt it in different materials. What if the apartment had been made of wood instead of metal? How would the acoustics change? The temperature flow? He redesigned entire buildings, testing architectural theories in his head. The collector watched, fascinated and disturbed. "Why are you not breaking?" Marcus opened his eyes for the first time in months. "Because I have something you don't understand. I have purpose. Zephyra is out there, living her life because I made this choice. Every second I'm here, she's out there being brilliant, saving lives, changing the galaxy. That's not isolation. That's meaning. Meaning is an illusion that will fade. We'll see." At 6 months, Marcus's brain activity remained stable, elevated even. He was mentally active in ways the collector had never observed. At 8 months, the predicted breaking point, Marcus started singing. He sang every song he'd ever heard. Earth songs from his childhood, Caleri harmonics Zephara had taught him, commercial jingles from New Thesha's advertisements. When he ran out of songs, he started composing new ones. At 11 months, the collector noted something unprecedented. Marcus Chen's mental state was better than when he'd entered stasis. The human was thriving. Year 2, tell me about the last year, Zephara said during their first holographic meeting. Marcus grinned. I've been productive, actually. I redesigned our apartment 17 times. I composed about 400 songs. Most of them are terrible, but 3 might actually be good. I invented a new mathematical system based on base 13 counting, and I've been working through every philosophical problem I've ever heard of. Zephara's bioluminescent markings flickered amber worry. You're okay? I'm weirdly okay. Marcus shrugged. Don't get me wrong, I miss you constantly. Miss touching you, talking to you, being with you, but my mind is sharp, sharper than it's ever been, honestly. Turns out when you remove all external stimulation, your brain gets creative with entertaining itself. The collector said most species break within a year. Most species aren't human. Marcus leaned forward, even though he couldn't actually get closer to her hologram. Zephara, humans spent 200,000 years evolving in environments that tried to kill us daily. We developed brains that could keep us alive through boredom, isolation, injury, starvation. We learned to entertain ourselves with nothing but rocks and stories. This, he gestured at the white space around him. This is just forced meditation with no distractions. You're scaring me. You sound too okay. I'm not going to lie and say it's fun. It's not. There are moments I want to scream. Moments I think I might actually be going insane. But then I remember why I'm here and it steadies me. He smiled. 1 hour a year with you, that's the goal. That's what keeps me unbroken. Their hour ended too quickly. When Zephara's hologram faded, Marcus stood alone in the white space again. All right, he said to the nothing. Year 2, let's make this interesting. He started running. There was no distance to cover, no destination to reach. But he ran anyway, his body moving through the infinite white. He ran for what felt like hours until his muscles burned and his lungs ached. The collector observed, what is the purpose of this? Humans need physical activity. Our brains are connected to our bodies. If I let my body atrophy, even in a simulated sense, my mind will follow. Marcus kept running. So I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to do push-ups, sit-ups, every exercise I know. I'm going to fight entropy with routine. You cannot build muscle in temporal stasis. Your body does not actually exist here. My brain thinks it does. That's close enough. The collector had observed 47,283 acquisitions. None had ever exercised. Marcus Chen ran every day for a year. Then he added martial arts forms, practicing combinations against imaginary opponents. Then he taught himself to juggle imaginary objects. At year 2, his predicted breaking point long passed, Marcus Chen started teaching himself alien languages from memory, conjugating verbs in Caleri, Draxian, and Vilrathi. The collector realized it had miscalculated. Year 5, you look exactly the same, Zephara said, her markings tinged with blue sadness. I have silver in my patterns now, you're still 32. Time's funny in here, Marcus admitted. For me, it's been 5 years of consciousness, but it feels compressed. Like I'm living in thick syrup, everything takes longer to process, but nothing moves forward. Are you still okay? Marcus hesitated. This year he allowed himself honesty. I have bad days, days where the isolation feels like it's crushing me. Where I wonder if I'm actually going insane and just don't realize it. Where the white space feels like it's seeping into my brain, erasing me bit by bit. Zephara's markings flashed red, alarm. Marcus! But then I have good days. Days where I solve problems I've been working on for months. Days where I remember something new about us and get to relive it. Days where I feel like I'm becoming something. More, like my mind is expanding to fill the void. He met her eyes. I'm changing, Zephara. I don't know if that's good or bad yet, but I'm not broken. I promised you I wouldn't break, and I'm keeping that promise. Why? The question burst from her. Why can you do this when every other species breaks? Marcus thought for a long moment. I think, I think it's because humans have always been alone, really alone. Every human is trapped in their own skull, unable to truly share consciousness with anyone else. We spend our whole lives basically in isolation, trying to communicate across the void between minds using crude tools like language and touch. This, he gestured at the white space, this is just more obvious about it. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Maybe. Or maybe it's why we're so good at love. We reach across impossible distances to connect with each other. We build bridges over the void, and even when those bridges are destroyed, we build them again. He smiled. I'm building a bridge to you right now. 1 year at a time, 1 hour at a time. When she left, Marcus sat in silence for a long time. Then he stood up and continued his routine. Exercise, mental palace, songs, languages, philosophy, mathematics, and counting the seconds until he could see her again. Year 10, the collector convened an emergency session of its analysis subroutines. The data was impossible. Marcus Chen should have broken 9 years ago. His brain should have dissolved into chaos. His consciousness should have fragmented. His sense of self should have been obliterated by the relentless, crushing isolation. Instead, his cognitive function was improving. Every year, his mental exercises became more complex. His memory palace had expanded to include not just New Thesha, but dozens of other locations. He'd reconstructed entire textbooks from memory, working through advanced physics and xenobiology that he'd barely understood when he'd read them years ago. He'd taught himself to meditate so deeply that he could slow his perception of time even further, making the hours between exercises feel like minutes. He'd created imaginary companions, not hallucinations, but intentional constructs he conversed with to keep his social cognition active. He debated philosophy with an imaginary version of Zephara. He sparred with an imaginary version of his martial arts instructor from Earth. He told jokes to an imaginary audience and refined them based on whether his imagined self found them funny. He was, by every measurable metric, sane. "You're studying me," Marcus said during year 10, addressing the collector directly. "I can feel it. You're watching everything I do." "You are an anomaly. I'm a human, we're all anomalies." Marcus grinned. "Have you figured it out yet why I'm not breaking? You claim purpose and stubbornness, but that should not be sufficient. You're right, it's not." Marcus stood facing where he imagined the collector's attention was focused. "The real reason is simpler, I'm spite-powered. Explain. Humans run on spite. When the universe says you can't, we say, watch me. When nature says you'll die, we say, not today. When an ancient cosmic entity says you'll break, we say, fuck you, I won't." Marcus's grin widened. "You told me I'd break, so now I can't. It's a matter of principle. That is illogical. That's humanity." Year 15 Zephara noticed the change immediately. Marcus's eyes had a depth they hadn't before, like he was looking at her from very far away, even though his hologram was just meters from her. "You won," she said quietly. "You beat it, the isolation." "No," Marcus said softly, "I didn't beat it. I made peace with it. There's a difference. Tell me. The isolation is still there. The loneliness is still crushing. Every single day I feel the weight of being completely, utterly alone in a way that no one else can understand." His voice was steady. "But I stopped fighting it. I accepted it. And once I accepted it, I could work with it instead of against it." That sounds like something a broken person would say. Maybe, or maybe breaking and accepting aren't the same thing. Maybe breaking is when you lose yourself. Accepting is when you know exactly who you are and you choose to keep being that person anyway. He smiled. "I know exactly who I am, Zephara. I'm Marcus Chen. I'm your husband. I'm the stubborn asshole who negotiated with an ancient cosmic horror and then refused to give it the satisfaction of watching me crumble." Zephara laughed through her tears. "You're insane. Probably, but I'm still me." Year 25. The collector had been collecting for 8 million years. It had seen civilizations rise and fall. It had watched stars die and be born. It had acquired treasures beyond mortal comprehension. But it had never been wrong about an acquisition before. Marcus Chen had been in stasis for 25 years. He should have been a gibbering, destroyed shell of consciousness. Instead, he was reading poetry he'd composed himself, epic verses that spanned thousands of lines, all held perfectly in his memory. "Why do you persist?" the collector asked, something almost like frustration in its multiversal voice. Marcus looked up from his recitation. "Because if I break, then the 25 years were for nothing. If I break, then Zephara's sacrifice was wasted. If I break, then I prove that you were right, that humans are just another species that crumbles under pressure." He shook his head. "Can't let that happen. Humans don't quit, not when it matters. You are suffering. Of course I'm suffering. Isolation is suffering. Loneliness is suffering, but suffering isn't the same as breaking." Marcus returned to his poetry. "Humans have been suffering since we climbed out of the trees. It's kind of our thing. We suffer, we endure, we adapt, we overcome. Then we do it all over again. For what purpose? Because someone we love is counting on us." Marcus smiled. "Because Zephara is out there being brilliant, and she needs to know that I'm still here, still me, still unbroken. That's purpose enough." Year 35, the release. When the collector's envoy appeared in Zephara's office with the offer, Marcus's freedom in exchange for her memories, she took 3 days to decide. Then she accepted. The memory extraction was painless. One moment she remembered loving Marcus Chen with every fiber of her being. The next, she remembered facts about Marcus Chen, but the emotions were gone. Marcus was released from stasis. When he opened his eyes in the real world for the first time in 35 years, the colors nearly blinded him. Sound was overwhelming. The sensation of air on his skin made him gasp. Zephara stood before him, older, silvered, looking at him like he was a stranger. "You're Marcus Chen," she said. "I am." His voice was hoarse from decades of disuse. "And you're Zephara, my wife. The woman I spent 35 years staying sane for. I don't remember you." "I know, I remember enough for both of us." They stood in awkward silence. Then Marcus laughed, a real, genuine laugh that echoed off the walls of the gray quarter. "What's funny?" Zephara asked, her markings flickering yellow with confusion. "The collector. It spent 35 years trying to break me. Temporal stasis, perfect isolation, the works. I didn't break, not even close." He looked at her, this brilliant, beautiful alien woman who'd forgotten him. "So it tried something else. It took you from me in a different way, erased your memories thinking that would finally break me, that I'd see you not knowing me and I'd shatter. And," Marcus stepped forward and offered his hand, "I spent 35 years not breaking. I'm not about to start now." "Hi, I'm Marcus Chen. I'm apparently your husband, though you don't remember that. Would you like to get coffee? I promise I'm more interesting than I look." Zephara stared at his hand. Then at his face, at the absolute certainty in his eyes, the unshakable core of someone who'd been tested beyond any reasonable limit and refused to bend. Her markings flickered violet. Just for a moment, but definitely violet. Love, or maybe just the ghost of love recognizing something familiar. She took his hand. "Coffee sounds good." Epilogue. The collector's report **acquisition log. MARCUS Chen species Homo sapiens time in stasis * 35 standard years status released contract modified final assessment unbroken notes subject Marcus Chen represents a unique case in 8 million years of acquisition. Despite 35 years of temporal stasis, far exceeding the breaking point of any previously acquired species, subject maintained full cognitive function, stable psychological state, and sense of identity. Human psychology appears resistant to isolation in ways not predicted by existing models. Potential explanations. One, evolutionary background of extreme environmental stress. 2, cultural conditioning toward individualism and self-reliance. 3, capacity for abstract thought and internal narrative construction. 4, spite. See subject's own explanation. Year 10, most significantly, subject's mental resilience increased over time rather than deteriorating. By year 35, cognitive function was superior to baseline. Subject used isolation as opportunity for growth rather than decay. Conclusion, humans should be reclassified in acquisition database. Previous assessment of average mental fortitude is incorrect. Correct assessment. Abnormally high mental fortitude, particularly when motivated by emotional bonds or oppositional defiance. Recommendation, **. Do not acquire humans for study of isolation effects. They will not break as expected. They will instead become annoying. Personal note from the collector, asterisk in 8 million years, I have never been defied successfully. Marcus Chen defied me through sheer, stubborn refusal to give me what I expected. He stayed sane out of spite. He stayed himself out of love. He won a game he didn't even know he was playing. Humans are terrifying. I will be more careful in future dealings with them. Asterisk 6 years after release, asterisk. Marcus stood on the observation deck of their new apartment, watching the three suns set. Behind him, Zephyra emerged from their bedroom, her markings glowing soft violet. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "The collector, how it tried to break me." He smiled, how it failed. "Do you think it learned anything? Probably. Don't fuck with humans. We're too stubborn to know when we're supposed to quit." He turned to face her. "We fell in love twice, Zephyra. How many people can say that?" "Not many." Her markings brightened. "I still wish I could remember the first time. The second time is better. We chose it with full knowledge of the cost." He kissed her gently. "Besides, we have the rest of our lives to make new memories. No more collectors." "No more collectors," he confirmed. "Just us, just this, just every single day choosing each other." Her markings flashed gold, pure happiness. Somewhere in the depths of space, the collector observed through means beyond comprehension. And if an 8 million-year-old cosmic entity could feel something like respect, it might have felt it for the stubborn human who refused to break. Might have, but it would never admit it. End log humanity status, asterisk still unbroken, still annoying, still terrifyingly persistent. Assessment, maybe avoid Earth in future acquisitions.